Hello, welcome to the Catalyst Way podcast. I'm so excited for this guest. This is a person that I met at a very serendipitous conference last November. And you know, when you meet that person and you're like, okay, we've got to have some time to talk over coffee. Dr. Rashmi Schramm is amazing. So we're going to have this amazing conversation about things that we don't learn in medical school, things that we may not even know that we have inside us that are actually the key to success in all areas of your life. She is a board certified family physician, like I am, embodied performance coach, retreat host, and meditation teacher. She is the host of the Inner Peace and Power podcast. I've listened to a few episodes. You must binge on it. And she helps busy women tap into their own inner peace and power so that they can live more energetic and fulfilling lives. She offers group and private coaching programs in addition to hosting transformational in-person retreats twice a year, which absolutely is on my bucket list. I would love to see her in action. Welcome to the Catalyst Way, the podcast for women clinicians ready to clear the chaos and create space to flourish. I'm Dr. Lara, a former burned out family practice doctor turned mentor, author, and professional calendar whisperer. I help women in medicine reclaim time, trust their intuition, and build practices that actually fit their lives. Each week, you'll get practical tools, creative strategies, and tiny shifts that help you color outside the lines and paint a work-life masterpiece of authentic, aligned joy. Welcome to the Catalyst Way podcast, Dr. Rashmi.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lara. It is such an honor to be here. And boy, what a beautiful introduction.
Yes, it's awesome to be co-creating a better healthcare for all of us here. And especially in the audience that I speak to, which are physicians, women, nurse practitioners, PAs, women in medicine that have been kind of introduced into a society and structure that wasn't necessarily built for their success. We went through all of the things in medical school, in residency, in training. We did and checked all the check boxes. Our telomere shrunk because we were stressed. We're running our lives, our families, and our work. And yet we wonder why we're burning out. We wonder why we're stressed. So what would be your first, jumping off point to speak about burnout and how we can find this inner peace and power?
Yeah, what a great question. It would be safe to say that I've had multiple episodes of burnout. And I think that's probably true for anybody that's listening. It's probably true for you, but I would say the bigger sort of burnout catalyst happened probably about 10 years ago, maybe even 12 years ago. And it was that exact scenario that you described. You've got it all on the outside, have the cars, the house, the marriage, the kids, and the job. And I was a dumpster fire inside, and it was relentless. I just was like, is this all there is? Right. It's that phrase, like when it starts to come to us, it's like very disconcerting because it's, again, I, of course, now I understand it's the arrival fallacy, but we are actually encouraged to believe in the arrival fallacy when we're going through medical training. There I was just really becoming emotionally unstable, mentally unstable. Everyone around me was also burned out. I was only hanging out with physicians. My husband's a physician. And it was like this resolution of this is just how it is. It resolved, like a dorsal vagal response of just disconnect, just get through it, and somehow everything will be okay. And I wasn't okay with just, 2 or 3 times a year going away for vacation and feeling alive. How do I create or co-create something that feels healthier for me? And as I started to not have the answers and spin and spin and spin, I truly had to wait until the emotional turbulence turned into physical illness. And then I was like, now I can seek help. And it was, a whole host of things. It was GI issues. I was having kidney stones. I had chronic daily migraines. Like I had the whole thing. And traditional medicines just were not doing anything for it because it didn't cause any of those things. It was a chronic daily stress. It was that slow churn burnout. And so I started to look outside of traditional medicine. And I actually had a deep sort of tethering, if you will, from my early days within meditation and yoga and Ayurveda. I grew up in India and I had completely let go of all of it, lost touch with all of it because, again, you're trying to assimilate as an immigrant. And there is a bit of this like almost shame that I felt of having to be tethered to that. So there was a lot of letting go during the many years of medical training. And so I was like, wait a second, why don't I retry some of these things that worked for me? And so I started to start as an Ayurveda and meditation teacher training. And I honestly didn't think I'd ever teach. I honestly didn't think it would ever be anything that I would do as a lifestyle. But I wanted two things. I wanted accountability and I wanted the depth. And so the program that I went into basically was like, here, if you join this program for the next 18 months, you're promising that you're going to meditate twice a day. And I was like, yes, please let me sign that paper. So that's really how a lot of things got started for me. That was sort of my gateway into a whole host of other types of meditation and coaching and deeper dives that I was then able to figure out how I could heal and I could become more whole. I mean, none of us are fully healed, but I feel more healed than in the past. And I also feel more curious about it. And so that's when I was like, okay, maybe I can help other people. And that's really how it started for me.
That's beautiful. And I think you echo a lot of the sad reality that I resonate with you in delivering or getting ready to deliver my third child. I couldn't wait for a break. And
Yes.
that meant a maternity leave, which isn't a break, as you know, when you have kids. It's not a vacation, but it's
Oh,
almost like I know a lot of women physicians and women in healthcare that look for illness almost as, oh, good, at least I can just be off of work. And isn't that sad? Waiting for our body to finally gather up all the symptoms that and diseases that they've been accumulating, saying, hey, we're trying to tell you, we're whispering and we're getting louder. And then you finally have your meat suit tell you, hey, it's time to set it down and figure something out. And women listening to this, often feel this like feeling in their throat of, over, well, how can I put it down? If I'm not doing it, who's doing it, right? If my patients, the minute we all know when we go on vacation and we come back, we have even more work. Even more work. It
absolutely.
never goes away. And the same with families. You're the air traffic controller, you're doing this all. So, we talk in the Catalyst way and in the Catalyst studio about tiny things, tiny shifts that create immense impact, which is the definition of a catalyst, which is itself not being consumed. It is a catalyst. You are doing tiny things for yourself, for your life that can create this ripple effect of immense impact. So what would be a catalyst shift that you would pitch to women listening right now if they're feeling exactly what you're saying, like my body's breaking down, I'm burned out, where do I go, what do I do? What would be one little tiny thing you could offer them?
Oh, what a great question. And I do think tiny is where is where the magic is 100%. In any way, shape, or form, some reconnection with nature is what I would offer 100% of the time. It's very difficult to be super stressed out in the woods or on a kayak in the water. It just gives you enough space to where you have to be present with whatever is there for then whatever needs to be heard is what I would say. And then of course after that comes when someone is ready for a seated meditation practice or any kind of mindfulness practices, it just becomes so much more effortless to be in the present moment when we are connected to nature in some way.
Beautiful. I love that. And you're right. It's meeting you where you're at. If, and the next question I hear from a lot of clients, I'm sure you hear the same thing. Well, I don't have time. I don't have time for that. It's going to take me 5 minutes to get in the car to get to the forest or to get my kayak in the water and so we talk about, again, going even like less. Okay, what other tiny shift? And I'm sure you as a coach and meditation teacher probably focus on breath, is if you can't do anything, at least you can change and alter your own breath in that moment. What would be another opportunity that you would allow women to see that's right in front of them? What other ideas would you have?
So, other ideas, yes, of course, breath, right? And oftentimes that is where we start. Like when someone comes to me, they're like, I can't sit meditate, I can't do a yoga nidra, I can't do a mantra. So we just focus on breath for 2 minutes. And when it shifts our physiology, we can start to think differently as well. So I suppose the next thing would be how can you shift your physiology? And it can be so simple as asking, what do I need? And if you haven't taken a single sip of water that day, that can actually shift your physiology, is drinking some water. If it's cold outside, drinking some warm tea, or really like anything like that that feels nourishing within the mind body system is going to help us get back into that ventral vagal state of like where we can bring in creativity and we can start to think of different ways that we can manage whatever stressors are coming at us.
Beautiful. I love that you are incorporating the polyvagal theory, and I love how there's many different wrapping papers of words that we use to describe these similar things. I like to think of it as contraction or expansion. We go through these eddies and flows and waves, and It's not that contraction is inherently bad. It is also not that expansion is inherently the better choice. I mean, there's dysregulated contraction and there's regulated contraction, just like there is with expansion. And you're talking about how can you recognize where you're at in this moment and tend to your own needs, which as moms, if many of us are listening, are doctor moms or nurse practitioner moms, we often are looking elsewhere. It's more comfortable to caregive. It's more comfortable to say, what does somebody else need? Because it helps us feel like worthy. We're giving help, right? So much harder to take your own sip of water and to really look deep and say, what does my body need? So for those that are in this moment having a hard time doing that, what would be a little word of encouragement to help them practice taking care of themselves?
Oof, you got some big, juicy questions here, Lara. I think it really begins with an idea of self-love and self-compassion. I think that's the intention behind it. And I do think it has to be an intentional practice. I know for me, it has been because over the last dozen or more years, have had to move from constantly being self-critical to then self-acceptance, self-love, self-compassion, and what might that look like? And most of the time, it's going to feel uncomfortable if we're not used to doing it. And so we can't just stop doing it because it's uncomfortable. But the only way that I truly think that we can give and receive whatever it is that we want to give and receive is to become that thing. And so if we're looking for someone to love on us, then we have to become love. If we're looking for someone to be compassionate or show empathy, then we have to become that in an energetic way. And so I think when we find ourselves, and I think there are critical moments, especially when, let's say, we've made a small mistake or a big mistake, because we're human beings, we're not robots, we're going to make mistakes. That is that moment. That is that golden moment. That is that opportunity for us to say, okay, I made a mistake. Like we own it, right? And I made a decision based on the information that I had. It wasn't very clear to me. And here is the outcome. It is not my desired outcome. And how can I be soft with myself? How can I learn from this? And what decision can I make next? And oftentimes that is the catalyst, is when we make a mistake, and we often forget that that's the opportunity.
Beautiful. I'm going to underscore this right now. That is often an opportunity, is those moments of discomfort and mistake. I love to call them AFGOs, which is another effing growth opportunity. And I
Yes.
give my catalyst little stickers that say AFGO survivor, because like that
Yes.
is life. Life is built
Yes.
on
Yes.
these mistakes or these missteps, because it's really truly leading you where you need to go. It's giving you that warning light on your dashboard, maybe that, maybe you're not in the place you need to be. You may have wanted to be a pediatrician your whole life, and maybe you're doing it and it's just not what you need anymore. And that's okay. And to say, I might want to change my mind, and I think that's scary for a lot of women in healthcare is, we're kind of sold this idea that you're going to be doing this now for the rest of your life. And what if you wanted something more or different? Quick pause. If you're loving this podcast and secretly dreaming about building a functional or integrative practice that doesn't burn you out, you're my person. Catalyst Studio is the 12-month mentorship for women clinicians who want to build or scale a membership-style practice. We mix practical business strategy with creativity and flow so that you can build a thriving practice that actually fits your life. Come join us. It is the mentorship I wish I had had. You'll find all the information at drlarasalyer.com/catalyst. So as women in healthcare, they're my favorite people because they are multi-passionate. They often have so many skills that are even outside of medicine. And medicine is just one expression of the way we can bring our gifts to this world, right? And, what I love that you and I connect on is the idea of that doesn't have to be your only manifestation of who you are in this world and what you can bring to this world. And the practice of medicine doesn't have to look a certain way. It could be as an employed physician, but it also could be as an entrepreneur. It could also be outside of medicine, using your skills that you worked hard at and then steering them into a different area. So I'd love to hear you talk more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you think about catalyst, because I was thinking about what was the catalyst for me. Yes, there were a number of small signs, big signs. Meditation played a big part in it. Silence played a big part in it. And really I think it was my younger kid, I think, was in like fifth or sixth grade, and I had moved down a little bit from one FTE, and one of my very best friends and I were at a track meet for our kids. And as we were sitting on the bleachers, she said, you know what, when Nina's, in high school, like you're just going to be able to work as much as you want to at the hospital that I was working at. Right. And like that vision viscerally almost made me have a panic attack. Like the idea of like, this is where I'm going to be heading if I don't do something differently, of just like, this is not what I really want for my future. So why am I here in the present moment? I knew why I was there. It wasn't a terrible place, but it was toxic, just like so many of the corporate gigs in medicine are, and especially in family medicine. And it was taking a toll, no doubt, on my telomeres. And I had just sort of resigned myself to like, I'll just be here until, and then I was like, no, I think now is the time. And so that's when I really started to understand what does an entrepreneur look like? How can that how can that be something that I lean into? What about it scares me? What about it excites me? And so I think when we start to ask, like, how can I navigate and create really big true impact that's positive, that I don't have to put a label or a role on it, then I think some of the answers start to come if we're open to it. And I think as that starts to come, it can feel really scary. And so I knew that I needed to leave that place. What's really sort of a little bit interesting is, so my husband and I actually started it together. And over the years, really two of our very best friends were our partners. And so the idea of me leaving three people that I loved, a panel of 3,000 patients that I loved, just to do something I really wanted to do, I was like really having a hard time with it. And
it feels like self-indulgent, like how dare you have needs,
Yes. And so it took me a good long while. And actually what had happened was I go to meditation retreats very regularly. And what had happened at one of those retreats was all of these things had been revealed to me about like, this is your future. And I was a little bit scared. And my teacher, to her credit, actually had me write a letter to me, and then she mailed it to me 6 weeks later.
Loved it.
And I quit. Like when I got the letter, I turned in my resignation. I had a real honest talk with no one was surprised, by the way. Absolutely no one was surprised. And they understood. And I didn't just leave. And I was still there 9 months later. I recruited an amazing physician to take my place. Like none of it was done in haste, and it wasn't done with burning down any bridges. It was all done in love. And I think that was so huge as a way in which we can move through, is we can really outsmart ourselves. And now when I host retreats, I always have my people write a letter to themselves.
Same. Oh my gosh, here's another cheers. Yes, I do the same thing. It is the single-handed best thing you could do. And I do it for myself on New Year's Eve. I write myself a New Year's Eve letter and I send it to my email inbox the next year. And every year I forget I do it. And every year I'm loving it. I'm like, oh my gosh, look how smart you are. You have to take care of yourself so well. And I love that you do this in your retreats, because what you're teaching people is so profound. You're teaching them to trust. And I think that is the biggest thing that we don't do, because we weren't to be frank, I think we're better workers if we don't trust ourselves. We fit right into the corporate medicine wheel and factory if we don't trust ourselves. And so the moment we take back some of that agency and you learn to sit in silence to hear yourself bubble up, that's the scary part. Like you said, Rashmi, is people, sometimes it's hard to hear those wants and desires.
Yeah, for sure. So journaling, that is incredible for bringing us, bringing whatever needs to come out, especially when it's done with a little bit of prompting, but not too much, not too much. And, I know you talk a lot about creative acts, like any kind of art, that sort of thing. And sometimes it's just walking and noticing 5 things that you see, 4 things that you hear, right? Like, what do you smell? Like, just engaging with the senses can bring us into a really calm and expansive state when we are ready to do that. The other thing, when we're ready to receive can just be, we talked about breath work a little bit, but it can be incredibly, incredibly powerful if we allow it to be, if we just follow the breath. And if there are, pranayam is the one of the major limbs of yoga. Yoga has 8 limbs, and there are an incredible number of breath work exercises that if we engage them with intention, having learned them from, someone who understands the power of them, and even just 5-10 minutes of that can leave us in an expanded state so we can actually
Yes.
receive what's being told to us.
Yes. Oh, beautiful. In this world right now, people want to say, "Oh, well," and I've heard this kind of kickback with looking at altered states. Well, I don't want something to change my mind or reprogram me, but yet all of us are currently in a trance on our phone in this square little piece of electronical equipment that's reprogramming our brains anyway. And so thinking about being alone with your own thoughts is scary but so powerful, because what should bubble up but your own wishes and desires, and all of these things can lead you down paths that can be outside of your clinical practice and into different worlds that you're using your skills. And right now you're using your skills as a coach, as a retreat host. I mean, so many different things. What would you say is your most favorite exploration since leaving clinical medicine?
Oof. Oh, I would say all of it. It's like Sophie's choice. Do I have to choose just one? I mean, hosting retreats is just addictive. It's just addictive because of the transformation that it gives
Mhm.
folks. I mean, they know that it's going to be transformative, and yet I am still really just like in awe. I am in wonder, and they are as well, especially when there's a safe container and the
Mhm.
connections that can happen, the reconnection with themselves. And to me, I would say if I had to choose one, it would be that. But I am really, really, really grateful and love my one-on-one clients, the private clients. I mean, especially a long-standing relationship. I've worked with folks for 4 years now. I've got now private clients who are rounding out their 5th year with me, and that is just invaluable. Like, there's no way to kind of
Oh,
even, it's
yes.
ineffable.
Yes, I agree. It's the awe of witnessing another human as we are all walking each other home, as Rumi would say, right? We're just here to help guide, to use our skills to help somebody else along the road. And it is a beautiful, like goosebumpy experience to see transformation happen in a container of a retreat. And if you're like, me 10 years ago, I didn't understand retreats. I was like, why would I go to a retreat? It's a vacation. I can do that with my family. Why would I go to a retreat? It's a nice hotel. I can do that another time at a conference. Very linearly driven physician that's like, I need to maximize my time off. And if I come back from a retreat, really, I'm just going to come back to the same stuff I left. And that is not the case when you are in a retreat that is transformative, that has this container of safety and allows you to really relax your nervous system. Really, it's about that nervous system unhinging and letting itself relax and know that you're cared for. You come out a different person. And yet there's still this transformation that occurs in the one-on-one, as you mentioned. Like, this oscillation between contraction and expansion can happen in a mentoring session or a coaching session, which is so beautiful. It's like a portal of helping somebody see that truth inside them, just mirroring it in a different way, can be such a fun experience. And look at that, you're healing without being inside a clinic wall.
Yes, wholeheartedly. And it's taken me, probably just a few months of like, how do I identify myself? I mean, I think coach is a weird word.
I
I'm still kind of
know.
like, it's like not the right word. I don't know what the right word
Oh
is.
my gosh, I had this talk with one of my other friends, physician coaches. We were joking that nothing fits us now. I mean, I don't even like the word physician because it feels like a hierarchy. It feels like I know the answer and you don't. I don't like the word mentor for the same reason. I don't, healer even feels a little like, I mean, I feel like everybody is healing themselves. I'm not healing you. You're doing it yourself. And so the same thing we started talking about, we're just going to say we're magic fairy spirit coaches. Like, I don't even know what to call us.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. If you come up with a word, let me know.
I know. Well, the closest I have is catalyst, because I feel like that's all I am, is a catalyst. I'm just a catalyst for your
Yes.
growth. And
Yes.
it fits. And I am just so excited that you're in this space and you're running these amazing retreats. You are helping people understand their inner truth. And if you could pick one thing that you could do on a Saturday morning, I love asking all my guests this. One thing that you would be doing on a Saturday morning when you were 10 years old, where would we have found you?
So when I was 10, I was in India and I actually lived with a gigantic family, which I, didn't know how lucky I was at that time. And where would we have found me when I was 10? I mean, there was an enormous amount of independence that I now find a little bit scary because even like my 18-year-old, I'm still like kind of like, like looking around like, is this safe? But I had free reign of the entire neighborhood, and they were not like suburban neighborhoods. It was smack dab in the middle of the city of Bangalore, and millions and millions and millions of people, no phones, no way to really know if I was still alive. But yet my parents just were like, "Yeah, I trust you. Go wherever you want." And my friends and I might go down the street to a park if there was one. We would cross like 10 railway tracks. There's no like like all these things. Like there's like these cows and bulls in the road. Like these ways of just like, it just is like, so what? And so I would probably just traipse all through town and come back because we always went to a different grandparents' house, like my other grandparents' house, Saturday afternoons. But I would say I had free reign over the whole city. And I do question my parents on this multiple times, including recently when they were telling me a story.
I love this. I love this independence that you had early on. And I suppose you could find that common thread now, in your 10-year-old self is still there, independent. And on a free Saturday now, do you find yourself still exploring that independence? Do you find yourself doing other things that you're more curious about? What would you say is your favorite way to spend a free Saturday?
Yeah. So, and this is how I spend my Saturdays now when I'm home. A friend of mine started doing yin yoga and yoga nidra inside of a salt cave every Saturday morning. And like my husband and I, we are signed up all the way through the end of time, so long as we're home. And so we get to spend 90 minutes doing a really restorative practice inside of a salt cave. And I come out feeling like I'm 10 years younger. And it just happens every Saturday morning. Like, how lucky am I?
Yeah, that's really amazing. That sounds so incredible. And that's a perfect segue for people to find out, where do you live? Because I want to go to that salt cave. So
Yes.
how can people contact you?
So it's very easy, rashmischramm.com. It's my website. I'm on all the socials at dr period and my last name. First and last name, Rashmi Schramm. I live in St. Augustine, Florida, which is in Northeast Florida. I guarantee you, whoever's listening, if you looked it up, there's probably a salt cave near you because I know 2 salt caves near me. So I bet you they're there.
Oh my gosh. Well, now I'm going to be looking for salt caves, and I will definitely put all your socials in the show notes. And I'm so grateful that you are another catalyst here, changing lives, changing everybody's perspective on what is possible as a clinician, as a healer, coach, whatever we call ourselves. But we are all catalysts, and we're all coloring outside the lines. We're practicing that 6th vital sign of creativity that brings out our own unique self-expression. And I'm just so glad you're here, Dr. Rashmi. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Dr. Law. It's been such an honor.
Thank you again for listening to this Catalyst Way podcast with Dr. Rashmi Schramm. And please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow her on Inner Peace and Power podcast. And until next time, keep coloring outside the lines. Thanks for listening to The Catalyst Way, where we clear the chaos and create space to flourish in medicine and life. If today's episode lit a spark in you, your next step is to go take the Catalyst Archetype quiz. It's fun, free, and freakishly accurate. Go to drlarasalyer.com/create. In less than 5 minutes, you'll uncover your burnout risk, your creative strengths, and work rhythms that energize you. Because it's not about finding a perfect plan, but rather flowing with the one that fits you. Go to drlarasalyer.com/create.